Go on now. Garrett. Ghost. Ghosty does. Ghosty does. All right. Let's plug these babies in.
Hey, you gotta go outside, Dutch. Come on, guys.
You gotta go potty?
Come on, guys. Let's go potty. Benji. Come on, buddy. Come on, guys.
All right, Garrett. Hello, hello, hello. Hope everybody's doing okay. So, it's been a crazy week here, and anybody that's doing light work and grid work right now, you're probably getting hit left and right. But people are waking up nonstop this week. My husband, who is the biggest non-believer there is in anything, he's literally had 2 conversations with me in the past week about meeting friends on the golf course or whatever. And they are talking about UFOs, or they're talking about being in other timelines. And so I'm like, yes, see, this is exactly what I'm trying to tell you. This is not all made up stuff, as much as you don't want to believe it. Some people just don't want to believe it. But, there's opportunities for people to make a choice. So, I think that if everybody makes that choice, and that's plain and simple, the way when it gets down to it is that we honestly just have to make a choice. We have to make a choice whether we want to embody what is known as Christ, right? Embody an archetype, a 13th archetype, that we're not going to stay in this little box, that we can think outside of the box. We can be like a wheel. We can move that wheel. And that's what we've got to do. It's just a choice. It's just that simple, guys. And I'm going to show you this because this is one of the things that's happened to me from being, I think, in the programs. And I'm still trying to get to the bottom of why it happens to me. But like I mentioned a few weeks back, that I watched like part of the first season of Stranger Things, that this person in there, the kid in there named 11, she starts bleeding out of the left side of her nose when she does, I think it's telekinesis, in her alternate timelines that she's fractured off into. And they put her in this water. And, I had to overcome a terrible phobia about dark water. I mean, it freaked me out to be on a boat. The first time that I went on a cruise, I was about besides myself. It was so scary for me. I couldn't walk out and look in the water, period. And so, I had, my one of my really good friends, and we're both born on October 28th, ironically. And I try to tell her about her other timelines, and you know, she's very much involved with me in my soul path, because we have too many coincidences in our lifetime for us not to be from like the same soul family or the same archetype group, right? Her family is Irish. They're Smiths, but my oldest son, his last name is Smith. So, you know, there's archetypes that are associated with where your genetic line comes from. Why do you think that Epstein's so interested in being involved with these 23andMe experiments, right? It's because they knew about genetics, guys. They knew about genetics. They've got all the insider knowledge. So, what we have to do is we have to read all of these books. We have to study all these different religions, all of these things that people were practicing. It doesn't mean that we want to embrace that, right? We're the 13th archetype, guys. We're doing something totally new. They say that there's nothing new under the sun. But I think it would probably be pretty new concept, maybe like in this whole cycle that we've been on, if everybody just said, you know what? It doesn't matter what you did in the past or this or what you are doing in the future. This is what we're embodying here. We decide that it's not all about this. It's all about this right here. This is what ascending is about. It's working from your heart space. And when you start giving from your heart space and working from your heart space, your whole life changes, guys. It does. It does. But, a lot of people don't feel good right now. My parents have both been sick, and my parents are elderly. And my dog's been sick. I know a lot of people that are content creators. Their dogs are taking a lot of stuff. They are a shield in between you and a lot of negative frequencies that's coming in. This is why they're man's best friend. God, they didn't get that name for no reason. And so I ran across some interesting stuff today. I had to take my dog back to the vet. I don't know if I told you guys, but my little dog that always snores in the background, Benji, he had a tumor on his front paw, on his toe. And it's been getting pretty big, and we've been waiting for him to get in for a surgery. I mean, this thing just got like really big, and 1 month's waiting to get in for his surgery on Wednesday, but he has an amazing vet. So Benji had to get this tumor removed off of his toe. It was on his toe pad. And so they sent it off for a biopsy. And today he had to go back and get some of his stitches out, because he's been getting lesions all over his body. Not lesions, but like skin tags. And he's a Cocker Spaniel hybrid. And so the interesting thing is that we've been doing like all of this stuff to try to keep his foot, keep his foot where he could walk on it, because he's a chubby guy. Like, this thing's been bothering him, his mobility, for a while, and his doctor keeps getting on to me about that he's gotten really fat. And I keep saying to my vet over and over again, it's because he's neutered. When you neuter a dog, you destroy their testosterone, okay? And I'm not an advocate for having irresponsible dog breeding. But if our dogs' lives are being exponentially cut short because they're having their growth hormones removed, right? Kind of like the whole false matrix timeline that they're trying to push us into, where we're not having a womb to birth children through, right? We're not having natural childbirth, where these children are passing through the womb in natural childbirth, guys. Not with a bunch of drugs, okay? Natural childbirth, where this child is going through and having a kundalini awakening, basically going through your womb, being completely reoriented and recalibrated to come into this third dimensional space, guys. Having a baby naturally without drugs, in my opinion, and from what I have learned from everything that I've been studying, I mean, everything that I've been studying, and my doctor, my dog's doctor, basically confirmed it because I've been doing a lot of research on this. Well, you know, we share a lot of the same DNA as dogs do, guys, like all animals on this planet. We come from Earth. If you're born here in a body, unless you got transported in and you have another body that you're cloaking or however it's working for you to be in here and look the same, you know, I forgot even where I was going with this, but we all share like a lot of DNA with the animals here, and you're from Earth. You're from Earth. So you are from Mother Earth. Earth itself is your mother. And so we have to keep that connection strong because our energy is what calibrates this planet, guys. This is like, can you imagine the reality that we're in here when you step back and think about it? I mean, we are in a reality where we're creating our own reality. I mean, what a gaffe that you got somebody that's come in and changed the reality where from birth, you're told that you're not, that anything that's outside of this reality, you're crazy. I mean, can you imagine? Originally, just imagine how great it would have been if everybody knew that they were born from this earth, that they came from this earth. You're a Dhamma, right? And this is a self-creating reality. And that basically we're like a nut inside of a fruit, that this nut grows out of that fruit. We get out of this the 12 by 12 system, guys. We can do this. You know, I've been getting hit lately a lot. I mean, I've been helping a lot of people with grid work. And because, you know, there's a lot of energy that works against us in this matrix. So I've been taking a lot of hard knocks because I know that when I go into astral, I'm bilocating. Okay. I didn't realize I was bilocating. I thought that was called astral travel. I honestly did. I've never heard of anything called bilocation before. You know, I don't know all these terms. My grandmother was an old lady when I was a kid. And, you know, when I was a little kid, I didn't understand all this stuff that she was trying to explain to me. I was just a little kid, you know. But there was a lot of things that I did learn from her. And I learned about her ethics, about the way that these things flow freely to us from source. And so everybody needs to have access to all the information, guys. There's no sense to charge people to know something. Just share it willingly. This is how we get out of this hellhole, guys. This is how we make a change. This is how we go and embody the 13th archetype. Let's not put a label on it and say that you're acting like a Mary or you're walking like a Mary. No, we're a 13th archetype. We're outside of this whole thing with you being this and you being this and you being smart and you being a scholar and, you know, having a peer review and all this. What is all this stuff? Come on, anybody can pick up any book and read it. It's about your desire and willingness. Just because somebody's picked up 1,000 books doesn't make them any smarter than the person that has hands-on experience, guys. You can read all the books you want in the world, but unless you put hands-on experience, I mean, what is there? What is there? So my dog Benji has carcinoma on his foot. I went back and got the biopsy results. So it's been a very upsetting day for me. And when I first heard that in the vet's office, I about passed out. Honestly, I did, because Solomon got cancer. My dog Solomon, who was my guardian, got cancer. And I'm telling you, he was sent here as my protector to shield me from frequency. You know, and Benji's got carcinoma on his foot. He always lays underneath this desk, guys. He lays underneath this desk and snores. You guys hear him in all my videos. So my dogs stay all around me all the time. So yeah, we have to take him. Dutch, come on now, buddy. We have to take him to another vet that is a surgical vet, and they're going to go over all his test results, the biopsy, and everything. And then we have to make a decision then based on the results, what we want to do about Benji's foot. The worst case scenario is that he has to have that toe or part of his paw amputated. And my husband and I already talked about it, and we'll do whatever we have to do. I'm sorry, guys. But when Solomon got cancer, I was so distraught from losing him. I know that was Theo that came as Solomon, and he protected me. And there was one time that the apartment that we lived in, we used to live in this big apartment that was right across the street from the school. And we had the backyard fenced in, and I spent a lot of time outside, Solomon and I. But he was my guardian. And one time this guy was trying to rob us, and I didn't know that he was hiding outside. He was trying to break into my husband's his work van that had all his tools in it. And Solomon kept wanting me to take him out. So I took him out, and he wanted to go outside of the gate. And I don't usually let him go outside of the gate, but he was insistent. Now you have to understand that these dogs, Briards, they were self-thinking dogs. Okay. They have their own thoughts. They use these dogs. France used these dogs. They use these dogs as sentries. These dogs would deliver secret messages across enemy lines. And the Germans caught on to this, and they almost killed the Briard to complete extinction. There's only like 23 to 30 something registered litters a year in the United States. He was no ordinary dog. And the fact that I was even able to acquire a dog like that amazed me, because they're rare dogs. I found him in St. Augustine. This is how I found Solomon. Okay, I was in St. Augustine with Annalise and Garrett and my husband. We went up there when the kids were little. We spent the weekend up there. And my husband loves everything that has to do with pirate shit, and my kids do too. And so we went to the museum. And when we were in the museum, I walked outside. And when I walked outside, there was this woman sitting on the bench with this dog. And I mean, you have to look up this dog called Norman the Scooter Dog. He's passed away now. He got cancer. All these dogs get cancer. And if you have one, more than likely you'll have to have some kind of treatment for cancer. So these dogs are really interesting. But Solomon was insistent on going out. So I let him out the gate, and I went out right behind him. He was a funny dog about his using the bathroom. He would never use the bathroom in front of you. He always had to go and use the bathroom and hide. So he kept turning his body sideways and pushing me back. And I'm like, what are you doing? Move out of the way. I mean, this dog literally bossed me around. I would wear my house coat. This was when I was really, really sick. I mean, I had just had like 2 abdominal surgeries. I had the hernia. That's when I got attacked by that demon. I got Solomon right after that. That is amazing. I never even thought about that till right just now. That just came to me. But yeah, that's when I got Solomon, literally. So Theo had rescued me that time. He peeled the whole corner of the ceiling back in my bedroom. and reached in and pulled this demonic look. It was a gargoyle. It's what it was. It was a gargoyle. I just figured out that that's what it was. It was a gargoyle. And let me tell you, they are terrifying. They are terrifying. This thing was trying to get my soul. It was trying to get inside me. It was trying to possess me. It was trying to go through my incision. It's the scariest damn thing I had ever seen. It came in the third dimension after me. So, when I first came home from the hospital, the very first night, it was terrifying. But the whole corner of my ceiling just peeled away. And his hand came in. He pixelated his hand. He had a huge hand, reached in and grabbed that thing and just threw it off. And it went right through the roof. It was incredible. And I got Solomon not too long after that. So, the Earth Mother Earth, she says, Stacy, what do you get when you spell dog backwards? And I say, it's funny to me because, our Earth Mother truly has, I just got to chill. Our Earth Mother truly has a sense of humor, guys. She really does. She really does. You just have to get connected to her. So my greenhouse came, and it's like 3 million pieces. It came in a box that is long and narrow, and it's so heavy, it's like trying to carry a body if you put it inside of a box. It is literally so heavy. My husband about popped his seams trying to get it out of the car, and he just dropped it in the front yard. I'm like, okay, it can't be there, so I got to get it carried to the backyard. But Garrett promised me that he's going to help me put it together. So I think we're going to have like an army of people and a million screws probably. That's going to, hopefully this thing will just like snap together, and there'll be some kind of adhesive stuff that you can put on it. That way you can take it apart. I haven't looked at the instructions. He downloaded the manual to me, and it's like 45 pages. I'm like, oh my gosh. And then I see all these pieces, literally sections of pipe that you've got to put together. But you know what? It might take me a little bit longer than most people, but I'll get it done. I just have to rest a little bit, but you can work at stuff and do it. And I got like 100 seedlings already planted in little tiny clear containers sprouting outside. So, this cold weather is not going to keep me from doing what I'm supposed to be doing here. And that is growing food that doesn't have pesticides, that is grown all organically, that is done the way that they did it in the past, that they're not genetically modified. Okay, and that's because this is the way original Earth was, guys. Everybody had good food, and we didn't eat blood. And, this is one of the things that I ran across today that I wanted to share, which I thought was really interesting. So if everybody would please give give a honest to goodness prayer for Benji, please. Benjamin means wolf. It means wolf. So I ran across this channel today, and I wish I would have got the name of the guy's channel. But he has this section called Eleazar of Worms. Eleazar of Worms. Okay, and it is talking about wolves. So they're called TZELEM is, okay, and I know you guys have seen this word too. ZE-EV, Zev, in the album system. Therefore, those people who change into wolves were created as such from the 6 days of creation and do not return to their earlier state until they have eaten the blood of man or woman. Okay, eating the blood of man or a woman. Now let's think about that. So if you are a higher dimensional being and you want to pixelate into this, come into this three-dimensional spectrum, you have to lower your frequency, right? And so you have to eat blood, because this third dimensional realm is basically like this whole type of trap, right? It's a prey and be preyed on environment in this three-dimensional reality. It's polarity, right, guys? Let's think about this, okay? All right. This also could bring into question the whole starfire deal, okay? Because let's think about what starfire was. They were drinking menstrual blood, right? They were drinking menstrual blood. So if they were drinking menstrual blood, you guys got to excuse me for a minute. I got to put my house coat on. I got chills all over talking about this stuff. If they were drinking menstrual blood, that was a way to keep them in this lower dimensional space. Think about it, guys. This is how you kept all your people in the three-dimensional space, was giving them a holy communion, the holy communion of the menstrual blood, the starfire rituals. Maybe this is what it was about. Maybe this is what we're thinking backwards about the whole gold powder cook stuff. Maybe this was a multi-purpose thing. Maybe this is why they call it the philosopher's stone. Is maybe it was because it was a stone that kept you anchored here. You know? I mean, we have to think about this stuff from all different angles. So maybe this is why these people that are in the SSP programs that come from wolf bloodlines, maybe this is why they look for us in the programs, guys, is because we have a certain coding. We have the certain coding of these wolf archetype, the wolf archetype, because we're earthlings, guys. We're earthlings. But you also have to remember that Earth wasn't always Earth. So you've been a lot of different places, okay? But if you're born on Earth, you're an earthling. Now, it says, now there is a secret tradition regarding Adam. It was stated he was created in the, and then it has a Hebrew word, which I have no idea what it means or what it even says, of Elohim, and the word Tizlem refers Z-A-A-B, Zab, which means wolf. And it is known the name Elohim is in the secret of the other side. Now, the man was placed in the garden. You guys have to excuse me. I got to change my glasses. My dogs are barking like crazy. My son is here. I think he just pulled up outside. He's probably coming by to check on my little buddy. Poor Benji. He can't even come. He's not even, I got to bring him back and bring him to the window so he can look out. Okay, it says, and it is known the name Elohim is the secret of the other side. Now, the man was placed in the garden, and it was said that he made of the trees. It's also written, man is a tree. Regarding this, the fruit of the tree refers to a child. It also states that a werewolf is brought back to a human after eating blood and flesh of a human. This also refers to Cain, who was the value of Tezlem. And many things can be extended from here. It is known Lavan, Lavan, was a sorcerer who cursed Rachel for stealing the teraphim, Terafim, which is the affliction of Benjamin being a werewolf. Thus, after they ate the baby, their eyes were open and they knew they were naked, for they had transformed back to human. So this is like really interesting. So they're saying that you have to eat blood to stay stuck here in your human form. So we need to stay on this, maybe stay on this Daniel thing and just not eat blood for a while and see what happens. Man, I've had some crazy experiences. Well, hello there. Hello. Yeah, I cooked earlier. I've got to take my mom some soup tomorrow. I had to take her to the eye doctor, and she's got glaucoma in her left eye. So I'm making her eat better. And I'm trying to get my dad off of this one medication that he takes for blood thinners because he can't eat any vegetables. I'm like, what in the world? What in the world? My dad grew up on a farm. How can you not eat vegetables? That's like torture to my father. And he's not getting any nutrition. And I'm like, you know what? You got to have another doctor, Dad, because this guy does not have your best interest at heart, if you want my opinion. And so, we've had all of these different doctors come in and making house calls, and they keep asking my dad the same question, like, why in the world have you not been on oxygen way before now? Why? It damages your heart when you don't have adequate oxygen. My dad's been like this for a long time. I seen a video on pearl powder benefits the eyes. Oh, okay. Okay. Thank you. Yeah. My mom is in really good health. I mean, she takes like blood pressure medicine, but if she just ate better, she wouldn't even have to take blood pressure medicine. I said, Mom, the reason you're on statins is because you don't eat enough fiber. Thank you. But, their nurse came over and we got on this whole subject about testosterone and how it is so important for people to take care of their testosterone, even women. I'm taking my mom to the doctor because I know she's testosterone depleted. This is why her skin is dry, her hair doesn't grow, her hair is thin, she's cranky, her memory's getting bad. It's because she's testosterone depleted. She doesn't dream like she should. My brothers can't visit her and leave her messages, and my mom is very clairvoyant. Like, you could never get crap over on her. Like, she was all over you. I could never do anything. I couldn't, I swear. She knew anytime I was ever thinking about something. And like even with my friends, like my friends would come to my window to sneak me out with them when we were teenagers, and I'd be like, oh, just go ahead, I'm in bed. Yeah, I mean, when you come from these families, you can't get nothing over on your mom. Like my mom, my grandmother, and I literally would go to the store separately and all come home and cook this exact same thing. I'm like, how do we do this? Because we're all on the same wavelength, right? We read each other's thoughts. So, I mean, it was always like that. And then we would call each other in the afternoons, and my grandma would be like, what are you cooking? And I'd be like, spaghetti. And she's like, oh, that's what I cook. That's what your mom's cooking too. I'm like, oh, that's too funny. But yeah, we literally was all cooked the same thing. So my grandmother, she had a lot of recipes from the Great Depression. She grew up in the Great Depression. And she met her husband. Talk about programming. This is how I know that my life has come from pre-planning, that I was meant to be here right now. My grandpa, my great-grandpa, who was the Mason in Miami, this is my mom's dad's family. Okay, so my mom's dad, how he met my grandmother, my mom's mom, was because her brothers all went to the war, all of them. She was left with she had two older sisters, I believe. There was a big family, but her mom had died. And so her dad had got remarried to this other lady because he had he didn't want to be taking care of kids. He was a musician. He rode up and down the Missouri River, and he owned a barbershop. And so, he was a miser too. He was Jackson. His last name was Jackson. Well, they had a barbershop in East Peoria, and he also was a musician. He was a self-taught musician. He knew how to play like 5 different instruments, or there wasn't any instrument he couldn't play. I can't remember. I have newspaper articles from when he would be playing up and down the river on these boats. So she had a stepmom, and none of them liked the stepmom. So the boys all went to the war. And before that, and so my grandmother, she was there with the stepmom, and so she didn't want to be there. She wasn't happy. So one of her brothers was in the Navy, and his bunkmate turned out to be my grandpa, because he was like, kept seeing pictures of the family, and my grandmother would write her brother on the boat all the time. And so he'd be reading the mail or whatever, and it'd be a letter from my grandmother. So he was the bunkmate. He saw my grandma's picture, and he said, "Hey, do you think I could write to your sister?" And so he was like, "Well, I'll mention it to her," right? Well, my grandmother was like, "Oh yeah, hell yeah, I'm getting out of here," right? So she has her dad write a permission for her to get married at like 16 or 17 to my grandpa. She moved to Miami from East Peoria, Illinois. So my grandpa, we called my great grandpa, we called him Pappy. And my mom's dad, he got cancer at 35, and he died within 5 weeks. He got a galloping stomach cancer. And they all worked for Pan American, no less. Get this. Yeah, she did, but she got married to a man that she didn't love. But this was the 50s. So my mom has a sister and a brother, and then she has 2 more brothers. Well, when my grandpa died, his parents didn't want to pick up all of the kids. They only wanted to visit with the 3. So they knew that my grandmother must have had a boyfriend. She wasn't happy. I mean, and my grandpa, obviously, this is how spiritual things manifest. He was so mad, right, that he couldn't control my grandmother, because he was really a tyrant. My great grandpa, he was a tyrant. My great grandma, she had no say about anything. She died from colon cancer. That's from being angry. It's from being angry and holding everything in. My grandpa, he was mad too. He grew up repressed because my great grandpa, he was a creepy dude. He ruled with an iron fist. He was in the Masonic Lodge. They adopted twins. No, he adopted half of a twin girl because they only had boys. So that just goes to show you, he never honored the divine feminine. He must have hated his mother, because he had all boys. That's what it means when you have a family that's out of balance, right? They're not balanced in honoring the masculine and feminine equally. What happens is that you'll have a family of all boys, or you'll have a family of all girls, until you learn how to honor either the divine feminine or the divine masculine. So my grandmother, she was an interesting character, but there's no doubt in my mind that it's all programming. It's all programming. So the question is everything really just programming? It's just that some people learn how to do the programming, so they decided that they were going to do their own programming. I mean, think about it. And that they've figured out how the game works. I mean, really, if everybody's supposed to be wiped, they should be wiped too. But what happens is that, these other people, I think that they've had to come here. They've had to come to Earth, because Earth is a one-size-fits-all place. And so you can lower yourself into this realm. So the question is that, are we all like wolves, and we shapeshift when we eat blood, but the really meaning of a wolf is not what it's been made out to be? Anybody that understands true wolves You know, they know that a wolf mother is very loving. And if you get bonded to a wolf, like you see these people that work at these wolf sanctuaries, man, that's amazing stuff to watch because wolves are very complex animals. Oh, well, thank you very much. I mean, I was just getting ready to look at some of this stuff. I just think that it's interesting to look at this material as it actually might be. So everybody can read the comments on the side, right? I hope so. So it's not that I need to be sponsored. It's just that I feel like when we're teaching something so critical, like people needing to know what we need to do to make the world a better place, that we should offer it to the general public, because not all people can afford to take classes. The times are hard, right? Right. We have to give the information from the heart. We can't be monetized where we have to be censored and sanitized. We got to talk about the hard truths, you know? Sure, well, you know what? Eventually all this is going to be gone, and maybe they'll pick it up in another timeline. But what about if we're working against a time constraint here? We can't worry about every little thing, right? You know? He's got really good information and he could definitely keep people watching it. But it really comes in untethered from any kind of matrix and quantum entanglement when it's given just universally. You know what I mean? And I'm not banging anybody that does it. You do your thing, but I choose not to because of the way that I was raised by my grandmother about spiritual matters, that there's a book of ethics that you have to go by when you're dealing with spiritual matters, and that is that you can't quantum entangle it with anything from this matrix that's oppressive, and dollars are oppressive because it's paper, right? Right. I mean, we could be really experiencing God in its a totality at this time if people would just wake up. And one of the things that is helpful is when people understand what they've done in the past and how that just didn't work, right? It didn't work eating blood. It didn't work. It gave us parasites, and now we just got all kind of parasites, and people are like 10 shades of crazy. They can't even go to bed at night and see what's going on in the other realms. You can't go into the celestial realm and experience what it's like to meet the mother of earth, and to see your celestial counterpart or self in its light body. It's a wonderful experience. If everybody could experience that, I mean, but we could if we just would really just say, we got to do this, guys. We got to be the 13th archetype. Oh, well, thank you for being here. I'm so happy that you're here because, not everybody can come in on a live, but I've been like, I am Couture. She knows is that my dog, I've been talking about how animals are a buffer. And one of the reasons that dogs are our best friend is because they're like a frequency buffer for us. My dogs stay around me all the time. All three of them lay around me. But my dog Benji, whose name happens to be Wolf, right? Wolf Benji, he has a carcinoma on his toe. And so, yes, Benji, he's so cute. I mean, I have like a short on there where I show those Easter Island statues that how they look like dogs. So I've mixed them in with some of the photos of my dog. But Benji, he looks like a Cocker Spaniel, but he's half Cocker and half King Charles Cavalier. Oh, yeah. See, it's just we come from Earth. We're Earthlings. We're Earthlings. You come from the Earth Mother. We all do because we were born here. Unless that you're not really human, this body is the Adam. This is the Earth. Oh well, it's just that we have archetypes. That we have. Everybody has everybody has their part in this whole puzzle of how that we bring the original earth back. And we have a wonderful experiencing God in all of its fullness, source of what it really and truly is, to look at a blade of grass and know that that is an embodiment of God, source, that it's in everything. If people only understood that they are everything about them, it's what makes them wonderful. We're able to embody God in the flesh. Yes. And the more that people just get out of this whole mindset about being oppressed and being a certain color and this, I am a freaking mutt. My family has literally been all over the place. And it doesn't matter where you're from. It's all about what's on the inside. All it is, different parts of the earth. It was just people that were here at different times. And, when you keep going back and looking at it, maybe that's why the whole thing with Eve or Mary or whatever you call it is always like this figure in the Bible or the other books that is kind of like frowned upon. It makes you wonder, well, maybe that's because we all had to be born here through the earth womb, right, guys? We had to come from Mother Earth. And she didn't need anything for us to be born here. She's an encapsulation of everything all together. So we're born of this earth. We're clay. We're the earth itself. We're that red brick. That's the reason that the whole building is alive, right? It's just they knew how to put it all together. But we're at the end of our time cycle. There's no doubt that we're at the end of our time cycle. And I really feel like we're down between two timelines. I know something happened to me night before last, and I woke up with a nosebleed from hell. I mean, it was terrible. It was terrible. I have like a wad of tissues. Do you guys want to see what happens to me sometimes? This is why I say this number 11 from Stranger Things resonates with me. I'm going to get it. It's right here. I put it in my trash can in my office. Excuse me, Dutchie. So this is a trigger warning, but this is my nosebleed. This is my nosebleed. It took me 2.5 hours to get rid of this nosebleed. But a lot of people are reclaiming their sovereignty right now. I've been sending reclamation prayers out left and right, and I'm glad for it, right? And then I went down. I had the weirdest experience of, things just clicking, like we are making some serious progress here. And so I'm really concerned about February 17th, guys. And I've talked about this and way in the past. I didn't want to say it out loud, but about the Olympics on the 17th. And this was the whole point of us doing the Daniel fast, right? Was not consuming blood. And I know that it's been rough, but me even having to cook like meat for my family, the smell was turning me off. I was totally turned off to it. So I was glad for that. So Saturday, my friend texted me. She just gotten back from her trip and she was like, hey, yoga at 10 a.m. I'm like, okay, down at the pavilion on Lake Walkenwater. So I go down there, right? And not even thinking that morning, I put on like all this different jewelry that I was just going through all my crystals and stuff that I had in this cigar box. So I just put on a bunch of stuff, right? And so I had this one little net thing that had a double pointed amethyst crystal in it. So I was like, I'll wear these, right? So I go down there. I had a silver necklace with a crystal, a single pointed crystal on it, and it's like one of my favorite pieces of jewelry, and I've wore it everywhere. It's like on my thumbnail picture, on one of my thumbnail pictures when I was on the cruise, I had that crystal on. That has been to a lot of sacred spots with me. So I had that on when I went down to the lake. When I got down to the lake, lo and behold, was not only that my yoga friend Serena, who she has a channel, it's called Cup of Soil, SOIL, on YouTube, and our other friend B, who does the sound bath things down at the clubhouse, she was there, and she's never come to yoga, and I was so excited. I said, "Okay, I get it, I got it." It was today is the day that you're going to work on this sacred spot, right? Because I've been having they've been trying to put some terrifying dreams, trying to traumatize me in my sleep state with stuff that they've been doing to my kids. Like the first thing, when my dad came home from the hospital, they tried to traumatize me by showing me this scenario where they were going to murder my daughter and I and my parents and rob them. And it was the nurse that was coming. This is the dream this is the bilocation scenario they took me to. So then I was like tripped out about that. I wouldn't let any nurse come. I'm still not let anybody come there without me vetting them first. Literally, they text me every time they come because I just couldn't trust it, right? And my parents, they don't disregard my dreams. I've had like dreams and experiences since I was born. My dream states was a nightmare for me when I was a kid. Like when I was as young as I can remember, I had terrifying nightmares as a child. And I would wake up and I would be burning down there, and I would go to my parents' room. My mom was always having to put medicine on me. And they just thought that I was like a super sensitive kid, like to soap and everything like that. But it was because I was being taken in my REM and really bad shit was being done to me. And they would bring me back to from my astral back into my form. And my physical body would still remember some of that. And I would be having problems. And the other thing is that I would have these terrifying nightmares that I would remember when I'd first wake up, because when I would come back, they couldn't wipe my memory all the way. They would just make me think I was having bad dreams. So I would go to my parents' room and want to get in bed with them. So my parents remember all this stuff. And, so I know that there's a lot of things that have been around me that have been negative, but I also know that we would never experience any of these negative things if it wasn't for the time right now, right? We have to be doing something that's pretty special. Otherwise, we wouldn't have this much opposition. I mean, let's just think about it objectively, right? We actually create this reality. We create this reality, how we ever choose to embrace it, right? So this is why we have all of this programming on TV. It's trying to influence our thoughts every single moment, right? And then our diets and everything else. I mean, no wonder. I mean, when people start waking up, yeah, because nobody is beating you at the game, because you're seeing right through it. And it's great. It's like a lot of people are starting to wake up. It's really great. So let's go and look at some of these comments. So, yeah. So, the stuff that I was learning on the channel, which I really wish that would have went further, was the stuff about the wolf stuff. And I'll have to go back and watch it like 10 times when I'm not so worried about my dog. I was trying so hard this afternoon not to get too worried and start crying, because when I had my last dog, my Briard, when I had to have him put to sleep because he had cancer, and it was very traumatic. I mean, that dog was a guardian for me. And so I was really, really heartbroken when I had to put him to sleep. So, I like that this is actual stuff that talks about something. Like this talks about where these wolf bloodlines come from, because there are wolf bloodlines here. And the reason I say that is because part of the stuff that happened to me as a child is just because my family is like a mutt. My family's like a mutt. They have all kind of ancestry all over the world. And so, when you have, I think that you just have like a really diverse background because you're really mixed in with a lot of different things, that you just get like a little piece of an archetype from different areas. It's honestly what I think. I think that it's because I'm a mutt. I'm a mutt. But mutts make great dogs, right? Because they're not too hung up on themselves. And everybody loves a mutt. Everybody loves a mutt. But so maybe the whole point of us being in this form that we're in is we shouldn't really be consuming blood. I mean, truthfully, because if we stop being predators, that's just like a break in the cycle, the little changes. So, and I'm learning a lot of stuff. I'm learning a lot of stuff about the Kabbalistic stuff, because I was looking for my Hebrew Bible, and it is not in my bookcase. That's the other thing, is I lost my necklace. I woke up with the night before I got the bloody nose, only on the left side. The night before that, I got up that morning, my earrings were out. And these were heart amethyst. And I had an amethyst necklace. I did not take those earrings out. They were taken out of my ears, and they were on the table next to me. I fell asleep in the easy chair in my lazy boy, waiting for my daughter to get home from work because she had to close the store. So I knew I did not take my earrings out. I woke up, my earrings were out. Then my necklace was gone. And I'm like, what the hell? Where'd my necklace go? So I backtracked my whole day before. So I had only been 2 places, and I didn't drive my car because my daughter had to go to work. So I find the crystal when I go to take my dad to the doctor. I walk out to get in my car. My crystal's on the ground right outside of my car door. And I had literally fretted about it all morning because this crystal has been to all these sacred sites. So I was like, I said out loud, I said, look, Theo, I have to find this crystal. I got to find this necklace. And the chain my son gave me. So it's like super sentimental. Anything that my children have ever given me is so close to my heart, I was like, I got to find this necklace. I can't lose that. That's too important to me. I got that from my son. So I was gone, took my dad to the doctor, came back that afternoon, this is a couple days ago, came back that afternoon, and I had texted my friend Serena and asked her if she could look for my necklace. She said, no. Did you find it? I said, no. Got out of my car, went to walk in my house. Literally, it was on the front doorstep right in my path. I'm like, no way. No way. Thank you for bringing my necklace back. So I'm like, okay, how did that happen? So was I astral and somehow or another my necklace came off? Is what I'm wondering. And my earrings, they came out, took them out. Then the next day, I wake up with a massive bloody nose on the left side. So I know that I'm doing a lot of work, but I'm pretty sure that we're down to 2 timelines, because they showed me that bowl, those 2 bowls on that table, and they said this time humanity will have a choice. We'll have a choice. And I was like, okay. I wasn't sure what was in the bowls. It was like a bunch of components and things. It looked like a bowl of one of those big tubs of popcorn almost, except it was like looked like a wooden bowl that I have that I make bread in my kitchen. There were 2 of them on this table, and they showed it to me. And that's another thing, is that when I talk to them, when I bilocate, a lot of times I think I'm just bilocating. Bilocate with my mother. My brothers have had me bilocate, and it always is my parents' house too. My parents are almost on the 82 longitudinal latitude line. They're right by where that meteor is sitting under Bach Tower Gardens, the meteor that hit Central Florida, that is Mountain Lake. Mountain Lake. The reason that is because there was a meteor that, according to what's written down, There was a meteor that hit right there, and they built a tower on top of it. And then there's a neighborhood that's connected to that tower that's gated, guarded, that you can't get in there. And this place has full access to Bach Tower. It's called Bach Tower. But they had all of the people, the Rothschilds, or no, it was the Rockefellers. The Rockefellers have a house there, or they had a house there. There's something written in the newspaper about them because the son that had this place out here in Mountain Lake, he got caught at his wife's wedding shower in the kitchen messing with the nanny. And so they had a scandalous divorce. It was nasty. It had a nasty divorce, and it made the papers. It's literally still on file, and you can read about it. It was a big scandal of the day, and we had all kind of people in this town. The DuPonts have a house out there. The Astors have a house out there. The best way to find out who has houses out there, otherwise you can't find out, is you have to look at Edward Olmsted, because of course he was the architect, the landscaping architect of all the homes in Mountain Lake and Bach Tower. You know, these ones that came and they had these huge firms, and then they went to all these places, right? They went to all these places that were from the old world that they didn't want us knowing about, and they re-landscaped everything. Or they turned them into these sacred nodes, they turn them into dedicated parks, right? So you can't buy any property there. You can't live close to there. You can only visit. And you don't know what the heck's under the ground, right? Because our whole planet is a honeycomb. This is why they're okay if they just destroy the planet, because they're camping out on the inside. But what they're doing to the planet is not right, because the planet is a living being, and it's our mother, because we're from Earth. We're born here. So we're from the Earth. We're from the Earth. So, yeah, I mean, the interesting stuff that can you tell me what the name of that channel is? Shiloh? I'll put a link in the comments on this channel that I went and looked at today, because it's fabulous. It makes me mad at myself that I don't know how to speak Hebrew. I should have learned from my Jewish friend that I've had for like 30 years. Okay, it says in here, there is a type of wolf that is called loup-garou, werewolf, in that Louisiana, right? Which is your French Moors, right? Which is your possible Phoenicians, right? Which is your possible Tartars, right? So let's think about this. Okay. All right. So which is a person that changes into a wolf? When it changes into a wolf, its feet emerge from between his shoulders. So too with Benjamin. He dwells between the shoulders. Deuteronomy 33:12. The solution for dealing with this wolf is that when he enters a home and a person is frightened by it, he should take a firebrand and thrust it around, and he will not be harmed. So they would do in the temple each day, they would throw the ashes by the altar, as it is written, and you shall place it by the altar. That was Leviticus 6:3. And so is the norm with this person whose offspring turn into wolves, for a werewolf is born with teeth, which indicates that it is out to consume the world. Another explanation, a werewolf is born with teeth to show that just as is unusual, so too he will be different from other people. And likewise, Benjamin ate his mother, who died on his accord, as it is written. So it says Benjamin ate his mother. So let's think about that. What does it mean Benjamin ate his mother? If Mother Earth is a living being, right, we would have to eat of her body to be able to survive. I mean, I don't know. We're born from her womb, right? We're born into the living waters. We're born through the womb of creation, the universe. Antares is the womb. Benjamin ate his mother, who died on his accord, as is written. And it was her soul, and it was as her soul left her, for she was dying, and she called his name, the son of my affliction. And it was as her soul left her, for she was dying. I have to think about that for a while. What do y'all think that means? So, the stuff that I was learning from Lawrence Gardner, and that Lawrence Gardner stuff is really interesting. And then the stuff that I learned from this today, I started thinking, well, if the Sumerian texts are older than these, right? This Talmudic stuff, right? And then we have like this Baal, let me see what that's called. Belial, B-ILE, I think it is. Hold on a minute. It's in this Gods of Eden book that I'm reading. I've been listening on Audible to this book called Gods of Eden by Gary Gablehouse. And this book is really interesting. So this book is about this archaeologist named Gabe Turpin. And he was working on a World UNESCO, however you say that, UNESCO, a UNESCO site in Zimbabwe. Okay. On this UNESCO site and in Zimbabwe, he found some artifacts there that were, they ended up being dated to 1000 BCE. So they're like 3,000 years old. Okay. So this is a 3,000-year-old find because he ended up being able to have it carbon dated and translated. He found a tablet, a few, some other things, and then he found 3 skulls. And these 3 skulls, one of these skulls was Hiram. The tablets were written by this King Hiram. Okay, so this is Hiram the First. Okay, this is where this later Freemasonry, Hiram the Biff, whatever they use, that word that they use, this is where they got this from, guys. Okay, all right. So you have Hiram the First. He is a Phoenician. He is a Phoenician. Okay, so they worshiped Baal. Baal. Okay, so the Straits of Gibraltar were actually called the Pillars of Baal. Baal. Okay, this is just a king or whatever from one of these other systems that got here, and it's because their system had a reset because they got to the end of their cycle and they didn't meet the vibrational way out, right? So if you're not in the right vibrational space, you get kicked off like a flea. Your soul has to come into another vibrational space. This is my theory for how these beings ended up here, and then they convinced these humans that were here that they were going to get worshipped, right? That they were going to do this and they were going to do that, and they offered them favors and all this stuff. This is how we've gotten in this problem that we've gotten in. We got these beings that are higher dimensional vibrating than us. Okay, let's get this. They're higher vibrational beings than us. They still have the knowledge. They still have these other things because they're more advanced than we are. They're from other systems. Okay, say their planet gets to the end of their time cycle, because the universe is all in the same template. We get to the end of the cycle, and at that time, if the planet doesn't ascend, then whatever's there that's not in the criteria, they have to descend with that planet. Okay, so where do they go? They end up coming here. This is how we got this group that we're talking about, Samael, which is so funny. This is the other thing. This is one reason why I wanted to talk about this. Samael, S-A, see, the difference with my dad's name is it's Samuel. But when I was talking to my great grandmother, Emma Jane Randolph, she kept correcting me and telling me it was Samuel. And I was like, what? And she kept correcting me. And I kept thinking, well, why does she keep correcting me? What's so important about that? Well, that's because she was trying to tell me Samael, L as in God, Sama, Sama, is one of these like archetypes or God, what we say of a thing of God, not a embodiment of God, but an archetype, a type of motion, a type of energy. And so it pixelates in this third dimensional space. So this is what we had, these different beings that came from these other places. So we have Sama, Sama, which they say is the shadow or the dark twin of Lilith. So you have to think about that. So Samael is here holding space in this frequency, being fed by beings that want favors, right? So this is where the name Satan comes from, is from Samael, because we have this whole inversion parasitic thing going on right now in our system, and we got to get out of that. We got to get out of that. We got to start growing our own food. We got to start getting in our communities and helping each other out. We got to start cleaning up this water. I mean, come on. And they're trying to destroy Florida. Don't even get me started on that. I am so, oh my gosh. If Matt the welder better get the Department of Agriculture, and people better wake up and start getting involved in your community. Don't let them put sand mines in your place. And keep an eye out. I mean, look at the Turning Point churches. They've got thousands of churches all over the United States. Somebody needs to look into that whole business. What is going on with all of these Turning Point affiliated churches that are everywhere? Are they getting some kind of grants from the government? What's going on with that? Can somebody please figure that out? There's a reason for that. This is what the whole next level was that Charlie wasn't interested in. Maybe he wasn't looking into getting into the evangelical Christian church. Because, if you get taught the real Catholic faith, you learn about all this stuff. But the problem is that you got two different groups of Catholics. You got people that are truly living in the embodiment of the 13th archetype. And then you've got the ones that are in the inversion timeline. So the question is that you have to embody it yourselves. So the stuff about the wolf stuff I find is really, really interesting. Is, one thing is that maybe we got to think more about how everything is just tying in together. Like these beings that are here that are from Samael, they're Mars. They're Martians. So, they had to have a reset on their planet. Just like Venus had a reset on its planet. This is probably why so many of us ended up here, is because of what happened on Venus. The higher celestials are in the seventh dimensional space of Venus. They don't have to have a physical form. But the third dimensional space of Venus is uninhabitable. It's uninhabitable because it totally got flushed on that, right? So yeah, you got Venusians here. This is why probably why Valiant Thor and these other groups have been here trying to talk to Earthlings about how important it is to wake up and have like this Venus planet where we're embracing the heart space, right? It's because they knew what happens here goes out into the other systems. We're the battery of this system, really. We really are. This is why they want to be here, is that we have God creator spark here because we're supposed to be stewards of this planet. Guys, we're supposed to be the stewards of this planet. And so, I've got to get this. I'm going to get this greenhouse put together. I'm determined whatever I got to do to get this greenhouse put together, hopefully by this weekend. I'm going to work on it a little bit at a time. I mean, first thing is going to be like sorting out all of these different size pipes because it's got these pipes, and then the raised beds are going to have to go on the inside. But I've already got all my seeds started. So, and then I'm gonna do some different things, do some different alchemy tests. One thing that I want to do an alchemy test on is I've got these Aldi. You know how if you go into Aldi, they let you buy the bag. Well, you can buy one of those recyclable bags for, I think it was 30 cents. 30 cents, I think. Well, anyway, you can take those and turn them inside out. And when you turn them inside out, just so happens that the seam is perfect for popping it out and making the perfect square bottom where the bag stands up on its own. So you could take those. I'm going to take those and we're going to put stuff in them. We're going to fill them up with yard clippings and all of that. And we're going to plant some stuff in those and, just do a test and see, hey, can people just kind of grow this stuff at home without having to build raised beds? They can just take and use the handles to pick them up if you've got to move them, right? We're having some pretty unpredictable weather. So it's nice if some of your plants can get some sun, but if you have to bring them in the evening and, in the evening so they don't get too cold if you're still getting low temperatures at night. And then, in mid-morning, you can take them back outside where it's like 70 degrees. You can get your stuff germinated. Or you could just try to grow like a little herb garden. You can companion plant quite a few different things together. You just have to check and make sure that you can companion plant together. Like you can't like put two of the same kind. If you're going to do heirloom seeds and keep them actual heirlooms, you have to do your plants like requires like 8 to 10 feet, but most is like 6 feet. But you can go online and look some certain types of beans you can't plant by any other beans, peas like that, but there are some that you can. So it just depends on the species. So you can go in and there are these apps that you can use for plant identifiers and things. You can find out a lot of different stuff about planting and keeping your original heirloom seeds pure because we want to keep the codes, especially for the seed bank. So what I'm proposing doing is planting one certain type of heirloom tomato, an heirloom onion, an heirloom pepper, and then like a basil plant or some type of herb. But I have like 4 different kind of basil. So I'm going to do those all in like a 30-gallon pot. And it's going to be like yard waste. And it's going to be like sand for my yard and some like probably peat moss. I've got tons of oak leaves. And so I'm going to rake all that stuff up and put those in there. And we're going to put those seeds in there, seedlings, and then see how they do. We're just going to stagger them out 8 feet so we can collect the seeds. I mean, even if we got one fruit growing, we still get a full return on those seeds because when you go to cut that fruit up, you squeeze the seeds out. There you go. You've got your seeds. I like to get clean, real paper towels. And when you have tomato seeds, if you just put them on there, when you cut the tomato to remove the seeds, spread them out on a little paper towel, make sure that it's white and make sure that it's a real paper towel. Dry your seeds on there. And then when you want to plant your little seedlings, you just take and tear off a little piece of that dried paper towel and put it, just barely under the dirt and they'll grow. So, I mean, there's like so many little easy, people have made it way too hard to grow stuff. So there's been some really interesting things that I've learned in this book. is that these artifacts was a celestial being that was called the Benai Elohim, Bnai or Nai, but it's like the Benai were these small, what look like the grays now. And so the question I started thinking about was, okay, well, the mother of Earth, she's little like that too, right? She's little tiny. And I've talked about this. She's little tiny, right? So what if what happened is that they really are the Earthlings? That what happened was is that they kept going through timelines. They get caught in timelines and they got entangled, right? And they ended up in these other dimensions that were lower vibration, and they lost their ability to reproduce and eat and all of these things because they got radiation, right? So are these the Martians? Are these the Martians that went into the wrong timeline? I mean, that's something to think about, right? Or the other thing is that maybe they're the original Earth beings, and that they've blown up the world and they've went back into time and created timelines where they didn't, but they were radiation poisoned. Maybe another theory like that. Or somehow or another, they've gotten quite quantum entangled in other timelines or creating other timelines. And they turned into the grays, right? And maybe this is why some people get abducted, because you're an Earthling, right? And this is your soul family. Could be. I mean, we need to start looking at all of these different things. We really do. Not be closed-minded to say that these groups are all bad. I mean, what reason would it be that they're trying to, and if you can get people scared of everything, then you can pretty much tell anybody anything, right? We can't go losing our heads. There's a reason that they're keep wanting our DNA, right? Like, I was thinking this stuff on Epstein, that he's wanting to breed all of these babies with his DNA. Well, is it because they're trying to get back to Mars? They've been building a colony there for a long time, right? There's a lot of people that have been part of building that colony. If you come from one of these bloodlines that came from there, yeah, they've taken your butt right back there in the SSP program. Yes. And a lot of them were from these royal families because they came from Mars. They came from Mars. And so, these groups, they put your genetic codes where they can go. And so, they're trying to rebuild planets back. They're trying to rebuild Mars back. Well, another thing is that I talked about how I met this guy named Herbert. Well, Herbert has this huge hydroponic garden. He's Austrian German. He was taught he built all of the hydroponic farms for the 5 hotels in Cancun, Mexico. They're all self-sustainable. They don't buy any fruit, any vegetables. Everything's grown there. They never have to leave to buy that. It's all there, which is really freaking cool. Well, he said that he got contacted by NASA, that they're interested in learning how to hydroponically grow food off world. And I was like, oh, baby, you're going to Mars. And then I'm thinking to myself, if he's not already been there, and he doesn't know it. But he was talking about how he was worked in South America and all of his fascinating stories. So I'm super excited about talking to him. I took back his book, but I don't know where he was. I mean, the place out there is huge. I would literally have to walk inside and look every nook and cranny in the place to find him, because the guy he's a year younger than my dad. And so that means he was born in 1942. I watched the guy run all the way across his property to get me that book. And I was like, oh my gosh, it blew me away. It's like my dad can hardly get up out of the chair. His knees are so bad. But, it's nutrition. It's nutrition. It's amazing. So I went to take his book back. I couldn't find him, so I left him a couple bars of my homemade soap. I took him the saw palmetto soap that I made, which nourishes your prostate, right? This is palmetto berries. I picked them, dehydrated them, powdered them, infused them with oil, and used them in my soap. And I used all kind of essential oils in there. It's a fantastic smelling soap. And if you know anything about saw palmetto berries, they smell so bad. They stink terrible. So it's like a really hard ingredient to put in a soap and make it smell nice and have a really good punch of saw palmetto in it. These soap bars are pretty cool. So I took him one, and I took his wife one of my coconut milk lime infused soap bars, and that's a really nice one too. So I hope that I'll be able to have a little sit down with him and learn a little bit more about hydroponic gardening, and just talk to him about the places that he's been. He knows a lot of stuff. Older people are wealth of knowledge. I mean, if you could have a sit down with somebody that's in their 80s, it's amazing the stuff that you learn. It really is. It really is. It was such a different time. So the interesting thing is that I really do think that, there's something that has to do with these gray beings and the original earthlings, because something happened here on the planet. And I'm really feeling like, and, I don't have proof of this. I haven't seen this in astral, maybe as a download, but not quite sure, that these people that come, these beings that come from these other planets, because they get to the end of their time cycle, right? They have dropped down a frequency. So the other cataclysms, they got sent through the bin, right? They sorted. They got the hats, right? You go to the 3 houses like in Hogwarts, right? You come down the chute here, you're born on the earth, right? You're born on the earth. So you're starting your life here on earth, but you still have the codes from your other system. But this is where we have these different groups that's come here over all this time. But there was animal forms. They were archetypes. You pixelated in this 3-dimensional space, just like what comes across on the TV screen. It's a pixelization. So it has to be into a 3-dimension for it to exist here. So there's polarity in everything. But I guess being aware that we are in polarity, and then being able to take these two sides and balance them, right? It's all about not being involved in the 7 sins. It's like, can you have your Fat Tuesday donut, right? And you start your Lent. Right? Or somebody that goes through and gets garbage food and then drinks a Diet Coke, right? So yeah, I mean, it's being aware and making wise choices. So I'm really interested in learning more about these other channels that I've just run across, and listening more to these lectures, because people that have access to these books, I mean, that's just incredible amount of knowledge to share. And it's amazing that we have access, that, people are being able to share this material with us. I mean, I'm super excited about watching this channel and learning more about some of these books, So I'm going to link the channel that I'm talking about in the show notes, and or put it as a pinned comment in the comment section. So anybody that comes and watch the live stream later, you can hop over to the channel and look at this information there, because it's really super interesting, especially if you're an SSP and you're part of these lupine groups, and you have, these things that have to do with these wolves and all of these things. You check it out. And if you're one of these people that see Sasquatch, or you see werewolves or things like this, you see these earth creatures, you need to know about this kind of stuff. You need to know what they are, so maybe they're just beings that are here pixelated like they are, but they've been caught up in these programs and that they're not quite, they're not quite there. They're not quite there. But, if we can understand, instead of trying to like go out there and shoot a mythical creature, which is a fourth dimensional being like Sasquatch, right? We should be trying to open our heart to them, guys. Don't support these content creators that go out here to hunt Bigfoot just because they want to have 5 pieces of hair so they can try to prove that it exists because their ego. Don't support that crap. These are our guardians, guys. These are our guardians. We need to be creating relationships with these nature beings, right? When I found my necklace, I knew exactly what that was. I knew that it was an earth elemental that brought that back. Brought that back for me. They found that for me and they brought it back. And I was so grateful. I was so grateful. And the clasp on my chain was broke. And I was like, wow, I am so glad that I got this back. But I don't know how in the world that I found it in 2 different things at 2 different times. But I'm certainly glad that they were able to find it and give it back to me. But, when you have a relationship with Earth, these amazing things start happening. So I did yoga down at the lake, and I felt like that we opened a light. We opened a light down there, and we said a beautiful earth honoring prayer, and we just infused the crystal with love and gratitude. And I went down and I buried it down in the lake. And I just said, bless this spot and bless our planet. And let's have love. Let's have love so we can love the earth again and clean the water and clean the land and clean our food and clean our vessels, putting on our wedding garment, not poisoning our body and being animalistic and greedy, and not empathetic and caring. Because we're here to embody God in its fullness. And so it's 8:30. And so I am going to end this video. We've been going for an hour and a half, guys. An hour and a half. So don't forget, if you watch it, you can always speed it up there in the upper right-hand corner. Just click on that wheel. And I'll go back and put in the notes here and pin comment that channel link. And thanks, guys, for coming in tonight and spending a little time. And I'm so happy that you guys are doing this Daniel fast with me. And it makes a huge difference. So with that, when you come and find us, I'll be here because we're living in the past, present, and the future all at the same time. Don't forget to get outside. I know, guys, it's hectic and crazy, and we're taking a lot of hits in the realms. But I promise you that if we just keep on trudging along, we can make a difference. We can create a reality for ourselves when we go into a golden dawn, right? And either which way, we're going to a higher place anyway because we're embodying the 13th archetype. But if everybody embodies the 13th archetype, just think there's nothing that we can't do. Nothing we can't do. So with that, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share the videos. And I'm going to try to get some content on the other channel. I want to do the greenhouse and all that and upload it to that. So when you come and find me, I'll be here. Don't forget to get outside tomorrow. Put your feet in the grass. If you can't get your feet in the grass, get you a bowl of earth salt water, sea salt, none of that garbage salt. Get you some sea salt. And put it in some clean water. Put your feet in it and sit by the window. So thanks for spending an hour and a half with me, and I'll catch you on the next one. Thanks for watching. Sacred Enzyme. Bye-bye.